The massive screens in Earth Defense Force headquarters flickered with unusual activity. Admiral James Stone stood before them, his weathered face reflecting the blue glow of the displays. At first, he thought it was a malfunction. Then he realized they were receiving a signal from beyond the solar system. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Tom White from his station, "the signal is getting stronger. It's structured. Definitely not natural." The room fell silent. After decades of searching the stars, humanity had finally received its answer. But this wasn't the friendly greeting they had hoped for. As the message decoded on their screens, Admiral Stone's expression darkened. The alien transmission was clear and direct. "To the developing civilization of Sol 3, you are hereby notified of your immediate integration into the Galactic Empire. Prepare for assessment and processing." Within hours, the UN Security Council gathered in an emergency session. Representatives from every nation sat in tense silence as Admiral Stone presented the situation. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment, "we are facing a situation unprecedented in human history." The Empire's message was not a greeting. It was a demand. On the main screen, more decoded messages scrolled past. Each one revealed more about their unwanted visitors. The Galactic Empire, it seemed, had been expanding for thousands of years, absorbing civilization after civilization into their domain. "Their scout ships are already in our outer solar system," Stone continued. "From what we can decode, they've been watching us, waiting until we reached a certain technological threshold before making contact." The Russian representative spoke up first. "And what happens to civilizations that refuse to join?" Admiral Stone clicked to the next screen. The images made several council members gasp. Worlds reduced to ash. Entire civilizations erased from existence. "We have 12 hours before their ambassador arrives," Stone announced. "They expect our complete surrender and immediate disbanding of all military forces." The Chinese representative stood up. "Surely we can negotiate. Show them we would be valuable allies rather than subjects." "That's just it," Stone replied, pointing to another decoded message. "They don't want allies. They want subjects. Their system is based on complete dominance. Every species they've encountered has either been conquered or eliminated." The room erupted in heated discussion. Some argued for immediate surrender to save lives. Others called for full military mobilization. It was the British representative who finally brought up what everyone was thinking. "Our combined military forces," she said quietly, "how do they compare to the Empire's?" Admiral Stone took a deep breath. "Their smallest scout ship could probably take on our entire navy. But," he paused, bringing up new data on the screen, "we've noticed something interesting about their technology." The screens filled with analysis of the Imperial ships. "They're advanced, yes, but they're also stagnant. Their designs haven't changed in centuries. Every ship follows the exact same patterns, uses the exact same tactics. It's like they stopped innovating once they became powerful enough." The UN Secretary General leaned forward. "Are you suggesting we have a chance?" "I'm suggesting," Stone replied, "that humanity has something they don't expect: unpredictability. We're still growing, still innovating. We don't follow their rigid patterns." As if to punctuate his point, new alarms blared. Lieutenant White's voice cut through the noise. "Sir, Imperial scout ship approaching Earth orbit." The screen showed a massive vessel, sleek and silver, sliding into position above the planet. It was larger than anything humans had ever built, its hull gleaming with unknown technology. "They're broadcasting, sir," White reported. "The ambassador will arrive in 1 hour. They're demanding we shut down all military installations as a show of good faith." Admiral Stone looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. "The choice is ours," he said firmly. "We can submit and become another conquered species in their collection, or we can show them that humanity doesn't bow so easily." The Secretary General stood, her decision made. "Maintain all defensive positions. Let's show this empire that Earth isn't just another star on their map. As the council members rushed to contact their governments, Admiral Stone watched the Imperial ship on the screen. Humanity had faced extinction-level threats before: ice ages, plagues, world wars. Each time, they had survived and grown stronger. This would be no different. The Empire was about to learn a crucial lesson: never underestimate human determination. The Imperial ambassador's ship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Its landing at the United Nations headquarters in New York sent waves of dust across the gathered crowd. Military forces from every major nation stood guard, their weapons ready but lowered. Admiral Stone watched from the welcome platform as the ship's doors opened with a soft hiss. The ambassador who emerged wasn't what anyone expected. He looked almost human, except for his golden skin and eyes that reflected light like mirrors. 2 armed guards flanked him, their armor making them look more like machines than living beings. "I am High Ambassador Ray of the Eternal Empire," he announced, his voice somehow both smooth and cold. "I bring terms of your integration into our dominion." Inside the UN chamber, world leaders sat in tense silence as Ray displayed a hologram of the galaxy. Thousands of stars lit up in imperial gold, showing the Empire's vast territory. "Your species has reached level 3 technological advancement," Ray stated, pointing to Earth's position on the map. "According to Imperial law, you must now be brought under protection." Admiral Stone noticed how Ray said protection, like a predator might protect its next meal. "These are our terms," Ray continued. "First, immediate dissolution of all military forces. Second, acceptance of Imperial governance. Third, transfer of all advanced technology to Imperial control." He paused, his mirror-like eyes scanning the room. "In return, you will become a protected species." The Japanese representative raised his hand. "And what exactly does protected mean?" Ray's lip curled slightly. "You will be allowed to maintain your culture and local governance under Imperial supervision. Your people will be given basic rights within the Empire. Some may even qualify for civilian service positions." Admiral Stone couldn't stay quiet any longer. "And if we refuse?" The hologram changed, showing a planet turning to ash. "This was the civilization of Beta Centauri," Ray said coldly. They also questioned Imperial authority. While the chamber erupted in worried whispers, Stone's assistant, Major Bill West, quietly passed him a tablet. On it was an analysis of the Imperial ship's technology, secretly scanned during landing. Stone's eyes widened as he read. The Empire's technology was incredibly advanced, but it followed patterns they'd seen before. Every system, every weapon was built on the same principles they'd used for centuries. No variation, no innovation. "You have 24 hours to submit your acceptance," Ray announced. "I suggest you use this time wisely." As the ambassador left the chamber, Stone called an emergency meeting with Earth's top scientists in a secure room. "Look at these scans," he said, displaying the data. "Their shield technology, it's advanced, but it's based on predictable wave patterns. Their weapons use standard energy configurations." Dr. Jane Miller, Earth's leading quantum physicist, studied the readings. "They stopped evolving," she said with growing excitement. "They found something that worked and stuck with it. But that means they're vulnerable to the unexpected." Stone finished. "Our new quantum disruption technology. They won't have defenses against it because it works differently from anything they've seen before." Major West looked worried. "But sir, their ships are still far more powerful than ours." "True," Stone agreed, "but remember history. How many times have technologically superior forces been defeated by innovative tactics and unexpected strategies?" The next morning, Ambassador Ray returned for Earth's answer. He stood before the UN, his golden face confident. The Secretary General stood. "We have carefully considered your terms," she began. Ray smiled slightly. "Then you agree to submit to Imperial protection?" "No," she said firmly. "Earth refuses your terms." Ray's smile vanished. Perhaps I wasn't clear about the consequences of refusal. Oh, you were very clear. Admiral Stone stepped forward. But you should know something about humans. We don't respond well to threats. You would choose extinction over protection. Ray's voice held genuine confusion. We choose freedom over submission, Stone replied. And you should know something else. He displayed their scanned results of the Imperial ship. While you were giving ultimatums, we were studying, learning, adapting. That's what humans do best. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Ray's golden face. He had expected immediate submission or terrified resistance. This calm defiance was unexpected. You have made your choice, Ray said coldly, turning to leave. The Empire will arrive within days. Your extinction will serve as an example to others. As the Imperial ship lifted off, Stone watched it disappear into the sky. Earth had just declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy. But for the first time since this began, he felt hope. Sometimes the greatest strength isn't in having the biggest weapons, but in being able to think differently than your enemy. The world changed more in the next 48 hours than it had in the previous century. For the first time in human history, every nation stood together against a common threat. Old enemies became allies, and past conflicts were set aside. Admiral Stone stood in the newly established Global Defense Center, watching as representatives from different countries worked side by side. The room buzzed with activity as scientists, military leaders, and engineers pooled their knowledge. "Sir," Major West called out, "you need to see this." He pulled up images from the deep space monitoring stations. The Imperial fleet was gathering at the edge of the solar system. Their ships looked like silver needles against the black of space. "How many?" Stone asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Over 300 ships, sir. And those are just the ones we can see." Dr. Miller rushed into the room, her face flushed with excitement. "Admiral, the tests were successful." She spread out her data tablets on the central table. "We've managed to reverse engineer parts of their shield technology from the scans we took." Stone leaned forward, studying the results. "Can we replicate it?" "Better," she smiled. "We can improve it. Look here." She pointed to a complex diagram. "Their shields operate on a fixed frequency. They've been using the same patterns for centuries. But if we combine their technology with our quantum field research, we can create something they've never seen before." Stone finished, understanding dawning on his face. Around the world, factories were converted to produce new weapons and defenses. The Chinese shared their advanced drone technology. Russian scientists contributed their energy weapon research. American quantum computers worked alongside Indian AI systems to create new battle strategies. In orbit, construction teams worked around the clock to build Earth's first line of defense, a network of satellites unlike anything the Empire had encountered before. They didn't just create shields, they created shields that could learn and adapt. "It's not about matching their power," Stone explained to the UN Security Council. "It's about using their expectations against them. They think they know exactly what we're capable of. They're wrong." The preparation wasn't just military. Civilian bunkers were established in every major city. Underground farms were set up. The internet was reinforced and decentralized to maintain communication even under attack. "Look at this," Major West said, showing Stone the latest intelligence. Regular citizens were finding ways to help. Engineers were designing makeshift weapons. Hackers were creating new cyber defense systems. Farmers were developing hidden food storage networks. "They expect us to act like every other species they conquered," Stone observed. "But humans have something unique. We thrive on challenges. We adapt. We improvise." A week after Earth's refusal, their new defense system faced its first test. An Imperial scout ship approached, likely expecting to find a panicked planet scrambling to prepare. Instead, they found a unified world ready to fight. The scout ship launched what should have been an overwhelming attack. Their energy weapons, powerful enough to level cities, struck Earth's new shield network. But instead of shattering, the shields absorbed the energy, learned from it, and grew stronger. Impossible. The Imperial captain's message crackled through their communications. Your technology is insufficient for this level of defense. Stone's reply was calm. You should update your information about Earth. We're full of surprises. The scout ship retreated, but Stone knew this was just the beginning. In the command center, he addressed the Global Defense Force. The Empire thinks they know exactly what they're facing. A primitive species that should be easy to conquer. They've done this hundreds of times before. He paused, looking at the determined faces around him. But they've never faced humans before. We don't follow their rules. We don't think like them. And most importantly, we never, ever give up. As he finished speaking, the deep space sensors lit up. The main Imperial fleet was moving. Earth's first real test was approaching. All defense stations, report in, Stone commanded. Around the world, responses came back from underground bunkers, orbital platforms, and mobile command centers. Every continent, every nation, united in defense. The Empire was about to learn why you should never back humans into a corner. They didn't just fight back. They changed the rules of the game entirely. Earth was ready. Not just to survive, but to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. Humanity at its finest. The first wave of Imperial ships emerged from hyperspace like a wall of silver daggers against the black of space. Their massive forms blocked out the stars as they approached Earth's orbit. In the Global Defense Center, warning sirens filled the air. 350 ships detected. Major West announced, his voice steady despite the tension. They're forming their standard attack pattern. Admiral Stone watched the tactical display as the Imperial fleet spread out in a perfect geometric formation. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a deadly dance they'd performed 1,000 times before. Let them come closer, Stone ordered. Wait until they're within range of our outer defense grid. The Imperial commander's message boomed through their communications. Primitive species of Earth, witness the power of the eternal empire. Your defiance ends today. Stone didn't respond. Instead, he watched as the Imperial ships moved exactly as their intelligence predicted they would. Centuries of conquest had made them predictable. That was their weakness. They're launching their first wave of fighters, Dr. Miller reported from her station. The tactical display showed thousands of smaller ships pouring from the larger vessels. Now, Stone commanded, activate Defense Pattern Alpha. Around Earth, hundreds of seemingly innocent satellites suddenly came to life. But instead of creating a simple energy shield like the Empire expected, they generated something new. A quantum web of interconnected fields, each one learning and adapting in real time. The first wave of Imperial fighters slammed into the shield, and chaos erupted. Their weapons, designed to break through standard energy barriers, had no effect on Earth's quantum fields. Several fighters became tangled in the web-like defense, their engines shorting out. Imperial fleet is adjusting formation, West reported. They're following standard Imperial Combat Protocol page 47, just like we predicted. Stone allowed himself a small smile. Launch our drones. From hidden bases around the planet, thousands of small, unmanned craft took flight. They weren't the sleek, powerful ships the Empire used. They were smaller, faster, and most importantly, unpredictable. Built with a combination of reverse-engineered Imperial tech and human innovation, they swarmed toward the enemy fleet. What is this? The Imperial commander's voice had lost some of its confidence. Your primitive drones cannot harm our ships. The drones proved him wrong. Instead of attacking head-on as expected, they targeted specific weak points in the Imperial ship's design, points that had remained unchanged for centuries. Some drones attached themselves to hull plates, using focused quantum pulses to disrupt shield frequencies. Others jammed communication systems with constantly changing signals that Imperial computers couldn't filter out. Their formation is breaking, West called out excitedly. They're trying to adapt, but their command structure can't handle rapid changes. The Imperial fleet's perfect geometry began to crumble. Ships collided as they tried to execute maneuvers their protocols hadn't updated in centuries. Their rigid command structure, designed for fighting predictable battles, was falling apart against human guerrilla tactics. But the Empire wasn't defeated yet. Their capital ships began charging their main weapons, planet killers that could crack Earth's crust. All stations, initiate defense pattern Omega, Stone ordered calmly. Earth's quantum web suddenly contracted, drawing in close to the planet. The Imperial capital ships fired their planet killers, only to watch in shock as Earth's shield absorbed the energy, grew stronger, and then reflected it back in 1,000 unpredictable directions. Impossible. The Imperial commander raged. Your technology is inferior. Your species is primitive. This cannot be. You made a mistake, Stone finally responded. You judged us by your standards, but humans don't follow standard patterns. We adapt. We improvise. We overcome. The first battle for Earth lasted just 3 hours. When it ended, 20 Imperial ships had been disabled, 30 more had retreated in disarray, and the rest of the fleet had pulled back to regroup. In the Global Defense Center, celebrations were muted. Everyone knew this was just the first round. They'll be back, Major West said quietly, with a larger fleet. Yes, Stone agreed, watching the tactical display as the Imperial ships retreated. But now they know something they didn't know before. He turned to face his crew. They know that humanity isn't just another species to be conquered. We're something they've never faced before. The Empire had launched their first strike against Earth. But for the first time in their long history of conquest, they had failed to achieve a quick victory. The real war was just beginning. 3 days after the first battle, Earth's deep space sensors detected what everyone had been dreading: the Empire's main battle fleet. This time, they brought thousands of ships. Admiral Stone studied the tactical display in the underground command center. The Imperial Armada stretched across space like a metal galaxy. But instead of fear, he felt a strange calm. They're still using the same formations, he noted. Even after their first defeat, they haven't adapted. Dr. Miller rushed into the command center with new data. Admiral, we've finished analyzing their battle logs. The Empire has never changed their tactics in their entire history. They've never needed to, until now. The Imperial Supreme Commander's message thundered through their communications. Your resistance has only delayed the inevitable. The full might of the Empire will not be denied. Stone's response was simple. Then come and find out what humans can really do. This time, Earth didn't wait for the Empire to strike first. Stone had spent the last 3 days preparing something the Empire would never expect: a counterattack. Launch Operation Slingshot, he ordered. Around the world, hidden launch sites activated. But instead of traditional weapons, they released clouds of what looked like space debris: old satellites, defunct probes, and pieces of space junk, all modified with Earth's new quantum technology. What are the primitives doing? The Imperial commander's mocking voice came through. Throwing garbage at us. They found out moments later. Each piece of debris carried a miniature quantum disruptor. As the Empire's fleet passed through the cloud, their shields began failing in random patterns. Their perfectly coordinated formation started breaking apart. Now, Stone commanded, launch the Hornets. Earth's new fighters shot out from hidden bases on the moon. They were smaller than Imperial ships, but incredibly fast and maneuverable. Unlike the Empire's fighters, which all followed the same attack patterns, each Earth pilot had been trained to think independently. Their ships are too small to harm us, the Imperial commander broadcast. This is futile. But size wasn't everything. The Earth fighters darted between the massive Imperial ships like angry wasps, targeting engines, weapons, and communication arrays. They never attacked the same way twice, making it impossible for the Empire to establish an effective defense. Major West monitored the battle from his station. "Sir, they're trying to regroup using their standard protocols, but our quantum interference is causing chaos in their command structure." The Imperial fleet's rigid hierarchy was becoming its greatest weakness. When ships lost contact with their commanders, they couldn't adapt. They could only follow their ancient protocols that didn't account for Earth's unconventional tactics. "Launch the virus," Stone ordered. Dr. Miller activated their secret weapon, a quantum-based computer virus designed to infect the Empire's standardized computer systems. Since their technology hadn't changed in centuries, they had never needed to update their cyber defenses. The effect was devastating. Imperial ships began firing on each other, their targeting systems corrupted by the virus. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos. "This is impossible," the Imperial Supreme Commander raged. "You are breaking all the rules of warfare." "No," Stone replied calmly. "We're just not playing by your rules." The battle raged for hours. Earth took losses. Several defense satellites were destroyed, and some of their fighters didn't return. But for every Earth loss, the Empire lost multiple ships to their own confusion and chaos. Finally, the Imperial fleet began to retreat, not in their usual ordered manner, but in disarray. Their mighty Armada, which had conquered countless worlds, had been fought to a standstill by a single primitive planet. In the command center, Stone watched them go. "Status report. 40% of our defense grid needs repairs," West reported. "We lost 37 fighters." "But the Empire," he paused, checking his data. "They lost over 300 ships, disabled or destroyed." "They'll be back," Dr. Miller said quietly, "with even more ships." "Yes," Stone agreed, "but now they're afraid. For the first time in their history, they're facing an enemy they don't understand. And fear makes even empires make mistakes." As the crew worked to repair their defenses, Stone thought about the old story of David and Goliath. Sometimes the giants' greatest weakness was their belief in their own invincibility. The Empire had the numbers, the size, and the power. But Earth had something more valuable: the ability to adapt, to think differently, and to fight in ways the Empire had never imagined. The next battle would be even harder, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy that sometimes the smallest opponent could be the most dangerous. Admiral Stone stood before the United Nations emergency session, presenting evidence that would change the course of the war. The holographic display showed thousands of intercepted Imperial communications. "What you're seeing," he explained, "isn't just battle data. These are records of every world the Empire has conquered, every civilization they've destroyed, every species they've enslaved." Dr. Miller stepped forward, her face grim. "We've decoded their historical archives. The Empire doesn't just conquer worlds. They strip them of resources, destroy their cultures, and turn their people into workers for their war machine." The room fell silent as images played across the screen. Countless worlds reduced to mining colonies, entire species working as slaves, cultures erased from existence. "But here's the important part," Stone continued, his eyes bright with purpose. "We've found a way to broadcast this evidence across their communication network. Every enslaved world, every oppressed species will see the truth." Major West had spent weeks working with Earth's best hackers to crack the Imperial communication codes. Now he stood at his station, ready to launch their most ambitious plan yet. "The Empire maintains control through fear and ignorance," Stone explained. "Each conquered world thinks they're alone in their suffering. But what happens when they all learn the truth at once?" The Secretary General nodded. "Do it." West pressed a button, and humanity launched its most powerful weapon yet: the truth. Through quantum-enhanced communications, Earth began broadcasting to every corner of the Empire. Not with threats or demands, but with evidence of the Empire's crimes, and more importantly, proof that resistance was possible. "Imperial citizens," Stone's message began, transmitted in every known language. You've been told that resistance against the Empire is impossible. Earth has proved that's a lie. You've been told the Empire brings protection and prosperity. These records show the truth. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Across the Empire, subjugated worlds began receiving Earth's transmission. The Empire tried to block it, but Earth's quantum signals, constantly changing and adapting, proved impossible to silence completely. Within hours, the first reports of unrest began arriving. A mining colony in the Centauri system stopped production. A fleet of transport ships refused to deliver supplies. An entire sector of Imperial space erupted in open rebellion. In the Global Defense Center, Stone watched as the Imperial battle fleet surrounding Earth began to break apart. Many ships were being called away to deal with the spreading rebellion. "Sir," West called out, "we're receiving transmissions from other worlds. They want to know how we've resisted the Empire. They're asking for help." The Empire's response was swift and brutal. They launched attacks on rebellious worlds, but their forces were stretched thin. For the first time in their history, they faced resistance not just from one world, but from dozens. "Admiral," Dr. Miller reported, "some Imperial ships are deserting. Their crews are refusing to fight." Stone wasn't surprised. The Empire's rigid control was its greatest weakness. Once that control began to crack, everything else started falling apart. Earth launched the next phase of their plan. They began transmitting technical data, plans for their quantum shields, their adaptive weapons, their electronic countermeasures. They showed other worlds how to resist, how to fight back, how to think differently than the Empire expected. The Imperial Supreme Commander's final message was filled with rage. "You have doomed the galaxy to chaos. Without the Empire's order, civilization will collapse." Stone's reply was broadcast to every world it could hear. "The galaxy doesn't need your kind of order. It needs freedom. It needs hope. And now, thanks to Earth, it has both." The Empire's mighty fleet, which had surrounded Earth just days ago, was now reduced to a fraction of its size. As ships rushed to handle rebellions across their territory, their grip on Earth began to weaken. In the command center, Stone watched the tactical display showing rebellion spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. "Sometimes," he said quietly, "the strongest weapon isn't a gun or a bomb. It's an idea. The idea that freedom is possible." Earth had done more than just defend itself. It had shown the galaxy that the Empire wasn't invincible, that resistance wasn't futile, that even the smallest world could stand up to the greatest power in the galaxy. The war wasn't over, but the turning point had come. The Empire's greatest weapon, fear, had been broken, and in its place, something new was growing. Hope. 1 month after Earth's broadcast shook the Empire to its core, the Global Defense Center hummed with activity of a different kind. Instead of tracking enemy ships, they now monitored thousands of messages from liberated worlds across the galaxy. Admiral Stone stood at his familiar position, but today he watched friendly ships arriving rather than hostile ones. The tactical display showed vessels of all shapes and sizes entering Earth's solar system, representatives from worlds that had broken free from Imperial control. Another delegation arriving from the Centauri systems, Major West reported. That makes 47 worlds sending representatives to Earth. Through the command center's massive windows, Stone could see the remains of Imperial ships being studied by international teams of scientists. Earth's victory hadn't just freed humanity. It had given them access to technology that would have taken centuries to develop on their own. Dr. Miller approached with her latest report. "The quantum communication network is fully operational. We're now connected with every liberated world in real time. The Empire can't stop the flow of information anymore." The Empire itself was crumbling. Without its iron grip on communications and its aura of invincibility, the massive structure had begun to collapse. Centuries of rigid control were falling apart in a matter of weeks. "Sir," West called out, "the first meeting of the Galactic Council is ready to begin." Stone nodded and made his way to the newly constructed council chamber. Representatives from dozens of freed worlds filled the room. Some looked almost human, others were completely alien, but all shared the same look of hope in their eyes. The Secretary General opened the session. Welcome to Earth, representatives of free worlds. 1 month ago, we were all slaves to the Empire. Today, we gather as equals to build something new. Stone took the podium, looking out at the diverse gathering. The Empire ruled through fear and isolation. They kept us apart because they knew that together, we would be stronger than them. They were right. He activated a holographic display showing the new alliance taking shape across the galaxy. We propose a different kind of relationship between worlds. Not an empire of conquest, but a coalition of equals. Each world free to develop in its own way, but united in defense of that freedom. The representatives listened as Stone outlined Earth's proposal. The new coalition would share technology, culture, and knowledge openly. Each world would maintain its independence, but would contribute to a common defense force, one built on flexibility and innovation, rather than rigid control. Earth's defense technology will be shared with all member worlds, Dr. Miller explained. But more importantly, we'll work together to develop new technologies, combining the knowledge of all our civilizations. A representative from one of the first worlds to rebel stood up. The Empire ruled for 10,000 years. They said their way was the only way to maintain order in the galaxy. How can we be sure this coalition will be different? Stone's answer was simple. Because we remember what it was like to be free. And now that we've tasted freedom again, we'll never let anyone take it away. As if to emphasize his point, the final news arrived. Major West interrupted the session. Sir, the imperial capital has fallen. The last emperor has surrendered. The empire is officially no more. A cheer went up from the gathered representatives. Centuries of oppression had ended, not through overwhelming force, but through the power of unity and the strength of the human spirit that had inspired others to fight for their freedom. In the days that followed, Earth became the center of a new galactic civilization. Ships from hundreds of worlds filled its skies, bringing visitors eager to learn from the planet that had done the impossible. Stone stood in his office, looking out at the beautiful sight of alien ships peacefully orbiting alongside Earth's vessels. Dr. Miller joined him, holding the latest reports. The coalition is growing faster than we expected, she said. More worlds joining every day. They're calling Earth the cradle of galactic freedom. Stone smiled. Not bad for a primitive species. As the sun set on another busy day, Stone reflected on how far they'd come. Earth had not only survived, it had changed the galaxy forever. The Empire had tried to conquer Earth and found instead that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to inspire others to believe in something better. The age of the Empire was over. The age of freedom had begun. And it had all started because one small planet had dared to say no to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. Earth had declared no entry to the Galactic Empire, and in doing so, had opened the door to a brighter future for all.